Oh, there we go. Testing, testing audio, testing. Testing audio versus engine noise. Let's see how this sounds. Let's see. Engine pretty loud. Un momento. Okay, now with this on, testing, testing. Hear how this sounds. I think it sounds pretty good. If you guys are in the chat right now, I'm just testing the audio, so feel free to let me know how it sounds on your end. We'll get ready to start with the official broadcast here in just a minute. Hello and welcome, everybody, as we are here at DRL, DragCon Racing League Super League for Formula Racing. Let me know who you are in the chat and who you're rooting for, as this is a league debut for Super Formula Racing here in DRL. We are round one in Suzuka, and we have just began qualifying. So these guys are going to get out on track for the very first time and set their out laps. Of course, the second lap being the timed lap. We have a Caterham fan in here already. Excellent. As it looks like we have Team Disconnect already on track as well. You can see Illusion and Alex. We have some familiar faces here and some new faces as well up and down the grid. Many of these drivers you may recognize from other Super Formula series, such as Illusion goes off, Illusion being one of them that you may recognize from the Grand Prestige League, probably the top Super Formula league in the world, and this one is not far behind, as we have a lot of drivers and talent carried over from Grand Prestige League over here to the DragCon Racing League, as well as Formula GT. There's some people here from Formula GT, as this league essentially took over for them in their absence and incompetence, and yet we have a much better league here. There was a league that this series had ran just before the Super Formula series with the F3500 as a sort of proof of concept series, and it went very successfully. And a lot of these drivers here are making their Super Formula debut now, but have had a little glimpse of action in this league from the F3500 series that was ran here before. So now just getting some info up on the screen. We'll go on board here with King, our league organizer as well. King No Skill, who is a Formula GT Season 4 champion, and was actually my teammate when he did so, fun fact. And now just a little bit of information about Suzuka, the amazing track that we are on today. One of the more challenging tracks in the world, and one of the most historically significant and fan favorite type of track here in Japan. This track is actually owned by Honda. That I didn't know until today. The track layout is about 3.6 miles or 5.8 kilometers in its full layout, and features many extremely iconic sections, such as the S's. Stay on board with King there. Such as the S's, the hairpin spoon, of course, being extremely difficult to nail just right, and 130R being perhaps the most famous of corners on this track, of which King himself just went through before exiting the final chicane to round out the final corner on the track to set the benchmark time that we are all looking to beat here, and it is a 134.9. And we already have him being demoted a couple of times by Chiller and Rico, drivers that he will know. I'll say as well, they are some of the top drivers from the F3500 league, as well as Alex there slotting up into P3 on his first lap. Pan Am with a 135, just 2/10 behind King with his benchmark time, as King gets a little off onto the grass, decides to reset his lap. BP as well going up into P3, an impressive time from BP. Now, the Frenchman here, BP, this is a guy who we have seen in Grand Prestige League in the SWT class. He's actually the champion of that class from last season. And a fun fact about that, he is the only driver to take a championship, a driver's championship, away from EXO in the SWT class of GPL. So an impressive driver is the Frenchman, and it looks like he was quite known for being extremely laggy during that season, but now it looks like he doesn't look too laggy here today, so maybe some new Wi-Fi for the Frenchman, as I'm not seeing many jitters at all. A little jittery, but you know, that's your That's just classic Gran Turismo lag. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It used to be much, much worse for our French driver there. As we now see, we have a new provisional pole sitter being Whiteout with a 133.33. That's a whole lot of threes on the board. Let's see if anyone can match it. As we still have a lot of drivers yet to set a representative time, we would expect to see Illusion a bit higher up in the standings here. And I would say Whiplash as well, as Whiplash, especially over one lap, is one of the faster drivers on the grid. Whiplash saying something in the chat there. Oh, hey, look, it's JHS13. He is actually in the chat. This is one of the drivers that I didn't recognize, so I thought maybe he was just a fan, but he is also a driver, as he is out here on the grid, sitting now in P12, perhaps yet to set a representative time, as he is coming back out of the pits to try again. He wasn't liking what he was seeing up there in that green Airbus-themed car. Looking very nice indeed. And his teammate, it appears, is Icon from Distinct. And I would assume, I've never seen this racer before either, but I would assume, being that he's a part of that Distinct racing club, he is going to be one of the guys to watch, I would assume, because that's one of the top teams in Gran Turismo. They have drivers in the top echelons of the Gran Turismo World Series. And so while this lap was not the representative lap, he is now on the overtake and now starting a fast lap. And we'll see where he can end up. If he can string a lap all together, whereabout he ends up, because there are a lot of fast drivers here. And we see Whiplash in last place too, just behind him there. So I would doubt that either of these guys have put up a representative time on the board yet. Got more vehicles crossing the start-finish line to set times as well. We have Chiller with an improvement at a 33.7, but Whiteout further improves his provisional pole position time. And of course, Whiteout, being the champion of champions, anywhere he goes usually ends in utter domination from this driver, and I'm expecting a pole position from Whiteout here today, and he is definitely putting his stamp of authority down on the grid today. Suzuka being, I would say, a strong track for him, but it's hard to find a track that he's not strong at. Perhaps the weakest tracks in his repertoire are still going to be good enough for an easy pole position and a victory on most days. You know, you'd have to take a really special drive from you and a particularly weak performance from Whiteout usually to even have a chance. As there we are, we see the Distinct driver and Icon going up to P4 and Whiplash up to P3. So just as I was suspecting, these two drivers amongst the very fastest here today. And we have a lot of really fast drivers. As we can see, Alex, who is a race winner, multi-time race winner in GPL, in the top class even. And yet he is now sitting in P7 with an improved time to a 134.1, but not an improved position. Only 0.03 of a second separate him and BP for P5 on the grid. Alex in that Lotus livery, looking very nice. Whiplash now looks like he may be stuck behind some traffic here. He is on an out lap though, so this lap is not being timed. He will want to figure out this track position situation before they cross the line so that he doesn't have dirty air all the way through his hot lap, as this is one of those tracks where dirty air is going to play a huge factor. One of the worst, especially around the S's, in terms of how much downforce is reduced when you are following in the wake of a leading car. I will also mention too, these guys can't really do much as far as mitigating that dirty air with wing levels or increasing the rotation mechanically through suspension, as these cars in this series are all spec, unlike Grand Prestige League, where you can fully tune the car. The cars here in this series are going to be 100% stock across the board. Everyone will have the exact same machine. Only difference being the livery and the drivers behind the wheel. As we see Whiplash complaining about the traffic. Now we're going to go on board with Illusion here in that EXO machine. It is a new EXO branded car here. I designed these, by the way. I designed the cars for EXO and High Caliber, so this is one of my designs here. You'll see next in 2 weeks from now as well in the other class. I've also designed those EXO cars. And this one, for the first time, we've branded a Mitsubishi. And he is going slow, so it appears as though his qualifying session is over. And now everyone who's on a hot lap, this will be their final lap attempt. Okay, we'll see who's on a hot lap, as we got a lot of these cars going slow at the moment, watching for overtake usage. This car is going to be one of them. He's not on the overtake, though, so I'm not sure exactly if he is on a fast lap or not. If he's not, his qualifying session is as good as over. Okay, everyone else is done, so we might as well carry him over the line and just see where he ends up. He is on the overtake now. I wonder why he wasn't on it throughout 130R. Yeah, and not an improved time from him, so this will be your order, actually. Okay, never mind. Whiplash back into the pit, so that is qualifying over, and this is going to be your result from qualifying. The grid is set with Whiteout in P1, Chiller in P2, Illusion in P3, Whiplash in P4. That's your first 2 rows of the grid, and it's going to be a spicy one. Well, I'm wondering to see if Whiplash is going to try to make up a big move on Illusion here into turn 1. It's a kind of decent run into turn 1 too, so with the slipstreams and depending on how everyone launches, we could see a shuffling of the order going into turn 1 before the corner even arrives, potentially. So very curious how that goes. But we can expect a good launch from Whiteout, as he usually is really good in every aspect of driving around these tracks, especially the launch. He usually gets a good launch. And he doesn't have to use it too often because his pace is just so good, but his racecraft is also really good when he does have to use it on someone, and so we might just see that into turn 1 a little bit here. Now we are on pace here for a 35 lap race around Suzuka for round 1 of DRL. And let's see, we have JHS13 in the chat letting us know how his qualifying went. He thinks he can do better than what he did, but let's pull up the results. There's the results. Here are your top 8 for the starting order. And if you got Alex at the bottom of a page, you know this is an extremely fast grid of drivers here. Absolutely insane. Ah, yes, and this is the remainder of the grid as well. Okay. Now it does look like... Okay, so it looks like King No Skill is just going to reset the lobby and make sure all the settings are perfectly good to go for the race. Oh, I see what he's doing. Very clever of King, because usually when you qualify and then you go to the race, you can save the race replay afterwards, but you can't save the qualifying session. But by canceling the race after qualifying, you now can save the replay of quali, which is very clever, very convenient. So good on King for understanding that and giving the opportunity to review their qualifying session if they so choose. And that's also good for incidents if you unfortunately have a case of impeding during qualifying. That would make it easier to show the stewards afterward for an investigation potentially. Although I don't believe, at least not from what I saw, I didn't see any impeding happening this time. We did have Whiplash complaining about blue flags in traffic, but I believe he might have been on an outlap during that time. So now all we have to do is just wait for all of these drivers to tick in and give the indication that they are ready to race, and then we will be racing here in Suzuka. And as soon as they do, we will be right back with your coverage. All right, these drivers are now putting R's in the chat to indicate that they are ready to go racing here. I want to make sure everyone has the correct starting tire that they plan on starting with on. If any drivers are listening, make sure you have the correct tire on before we go racing, as that can be a devastating, easy to make mistake, but one that will surely ruin your race before it even begins. Hopefully everyone has also gotten brand new oil. Yeah, King also reminding our drivers what positions get points. You know, that's a good question. I should probably have that pulled up. I believe that the point scoring system is similar to F1, but it might extend down a few more positions to allow more positions to score points. But I will double check for you here in just a moment, pulling up a few things on my phone so that we got all the best information for you guys while we're racing. Yes, indeed. And as King is also indicating here in the driver's chat, that if anyone has damage, you can type D in the chat, but nothing else writing in the chat other than to indicate to me that you have damage is not allowed. And I am the only person who can call a red flag. And I will call a red flag if 3 or more cars are either forced off the track or have damage on the first lap. Also, overtake is prohibited on lap 1. So let me just put that in case, just to remind people. Yeah, so overtake usage, much like DRS in Formula One, overtake usage is prohibited on the first lap, but as soon as you cross that line to begin lap number 2, you can use as much overtake as you please for the remainder of your race. Now, just waiting for these guys to get set up. They did indicate they are ready to race. King is just setting up one more thing really quick, making sure that our grid is properly set from our qualifying results is what's now happening. But now is a good time. If you're in the chat and you're listening to this, let me know what teams and what drivers are you rooting for. I will make sure to shout everyone out. And we'll see who's got the support here on the debut of the league. I know there'll at least be a couple of people who are rooting for EXO that I sent the link to, so, and then me as well, as I am a part of EXO, so I'm rooting for EXO, Whiteout and Illusion. We got some, May J himself, I believe, rooting for himself, which, of course, that's very fair, and a friend of his as well, also rooting for him, so you got good support, May J. First time watching, absolutely. We'll make sure it's good then. Let's see. Let's look at this livery. That's a nice livery. May JP with all the support from himself and his friends looking excellent here. Now, I was struggling to find the point scoring system. If I end up finding that in the server here before the race ends, I'll list out what the point scoring system is. I'm also going to kind of check for the teams because I want to know what teams all these guys are racing for. Looking. Maybe I'm blind, but hey, May JP, let me know what team you're racing for at the moment. I'm trying to look through the team registration list, and I'm either blind or I'm reading too quickly. But it would be a safe assumption, perhaps, that maybe you're on one of Pan Am's teams, as Pan Am is fielding like 5 teams this season. Oh, it's Julian. Okay, I've seen your name in the Discord. It's good to see Julian here. Absolutely. Everyone is getting fired up, ready to race. Oh, okay. Sounds good. So May JP is racing as a privateer today, all on his own. I will say, if you made that livery, it looks really good, at least from the thumbnail here. A lot of really nice liveries here. I've seen King No Skills red camo Mercedes livery before. That's his like iconic personal livery. Always looking good. All right. Now, the debut of Super Formula Racing here for Drakon Racing League is about to start, and we are underway. Whiteout with an excellent launch from pole position, just as we would assume. Look at the gap already opening up. But now a huge grouping right behind is Illusion. Okay, they maintain order back there, but my, oh my, was it close. We got a car way off. As he rejoins in P14, it's Rico as he regains a couple of positions there. A bunch of battling all up and down the grid. This is where it's going to get dicey, as now we're in the S's. Okay, the top 3 come out very clean indeed once the S's begin. Whiplash just behind Illusion. Icon as well, still in the mix. Alex making up 2 positions off of Pan Am and King, now to find himself in P6, trying to chase down the lead group, not wanting them to leave him behind. We know how competitive and aggressive he can be, especially on lap 1. Everyone seemed to survive. I don't see any damage on the grid. We got wheel-to-wheel battles all up and down the grid. The Frenchman on the German here for P8 as we approach the spoon. Makes up 1 position, and he's going for another as he actually loses out, and there's contact back there with the Brazilian getting pushed off the track. That was looked a little naughty. And now May JP, a fan favorite today, is going to look to make a position up on the injured car. Okay, and he goes wide again. Not sure if there was contact. It didn't look like there was any contact there. But looking back up the grid, we got a 4-car fight here now. Oh, 2 and 2 is how they're going here. Incredible. Oh my, I actually just noticed that BP is on the hard tire. Now this is something that I was not expecting to see today. Usually the hard tires are just too slow to be competitive, even though they can last a really long time. The vast majority of the field, we're checking tires now, is on the medium tire. We got Illusion on the soft, however, so he is going to be the odd man out regarding the top of the grid here. Oh, but Whiteout as well on the soft tire. chiller in between the Exo sandwich is that Toyota Castrol machine on the medium tire. So definitely curious to see how long he can hold on to P2 here while we have Illusion just behind on a fresher compound, or a softer compound rather. That's as clean as it gets right there. And now we have an XO1-2 to start the third lap of this race as they go around the final corner of Suzuka here to cross the line with a 1-2. And Illusion also taking the fastest lap of the race. Now we will see that fastest lap come down surely. Chiller making a little look to the inside on an extremely fast turn one there. Now that's a really, really difficult place to make an overtake happen, but it is a good place to put the leading car under a heap of pressure, as I'm sure Illusion felt the presence of his bumper going alongside his rear tire there. And it is a nerve-wracking one to know that the car behind might just fancy a send. And if they do, then both of your lives are in his hands. And luckily Chiller with enough car control to hold on and not let anything bad happen, although he does have a wiggle out of the hairpin. Now with these stock setups, I will say it is extremely sensitive, especially coming out of a high traction zone like that hairpin, to get on the gas without spinning the tire, because these cars have so much immediate power delivery. The back tires just want to spin out. You have to be extremely smooth as you increase the throttle application coming out of the hairpin. Now looking back a little bit to see how these battles kind of ended up shaking out. And now we know the BP has pace and really good racecraft, but I'm not too surprised to see him lose out on that battle being on that hard compound. He's just not going to have the pace that he needs in a direct fight with even a medium tire. Now we do have May JP, the fan favorite of today, on the soft tire as well. So since most of the field right now is on the medium and even a car ahead on a hard tire, this is a really good opportunity in this opening stint for May JP to make up ground early. And he's going to need to if he wants a chance to be in a good position. As he goes off the track, that's not going to help him very much in that particular regard, but we will keep an eye on May JP, especially as a lot of the chat here is interested in how his race is going to unfold today. Looking just ahead to JHS 13. Oh man, big battle, very laggy battle happening here with the Foxhound car of Jetfire. He gets right past him, so despite that lag going on, not sure what's happening. It does look like Jetfire is losing a lot of pace right now. May JP getting by him as well. Oh, but not all the way. Didn't make his stick as into the hairpin. Jetfire taking the inside line, which is vastly superior line, into the hairpin especially. But now they are approaching an extremely high-speed set of corners as they approach Spoon. Spoon is an opportunity where you can get a really, really good exit on the car ahead. Oh, we got yellow flags too. Who is it? It's Pan Am. It's Pan Am and that Marusa. Is it Marusha or Marusha? Not sure. It's a nice livery though, as Pan Am has made a good handful of these liveries. The two German drivers swapping positions there as he lets his teammate by without a fight, which is good because he had just injured the absolute hell out of his car. Yeah, I do believe, yes, it is on light damage, so the damage will repair itself. Oh, as we have our first disconnect. And I'm sure that that's a disconnect more so than a rage quit, as he was in a good position up there in P4, I believe. Maybe even P5 if the icon here took it from him in the meantime, but that is not what we would have expected to see, nor is it what you want to see if you are a Foxhound racing fan. Foxhound Speed Group, always a team to look out for, but having not great luck here in this opening round. Luckily for them, though, this league does feature a drop round rule that includes 2 rounds out of the 7 rounds on the calendar. So as long as he attends well for the rest of the season, that disconnect today will not adversely affect his chances in the championship. So a little bit of leeway, a little bit of forgiveness there, potentially for him, as it does look like we got a pretty decent amount of people in the chat today, especially for a debut stream of this league on this channel. So if you are new, just joining, let us know what brings you in, who you're rooting for, and how's it going, all of that good stuff. All right, so now what is essential here for our top 2 cars in 1 and 2 is that they just create as big of a gap as possible, as they do have a tire compound difference. Since they're on the soft tire and all of the cars behind chasing them are on the medium, means the cars behind are going to go longer. So since these top 2 cars here are going to have to take their pit stops earlier, they're going to want to create as big of a gap as possible, so that hopefully when they come out of the pits, they're not being held up by traffic too much, which, even though the traffic ahead of them will have to pit eventually, if they're being held up and it's costing them time on track, sitting behind a car that will eventually pit, that's just going to hurt their chances of reclaiming net position by the time everyone has to pit. And I have not done testing here myself yet, although I am going to be racing here in 2 weeks' time in Suzuka for the other class that it will be racing here in DRL. So I have not yet done any testing myself on this track, so I could not say for sure whether I believe it is an undercut or an overcut strategy that's going to favor these drivers today. But just based on what I'm seeing here, it could go either way so far, as they are building a gap to P3. Chiller, one of the faster drivers, and the gap is being built. It's about 2 seconds right now. By the time they have to pit, they're going to want to see that gap much higher. Illusion with about a 1 second gap to Whiteout in P1. Now, since these guys are teammates, they're not going to be probably directly battling each other for position, at least here this early on. And since the dirty air is so bad, Illusion would probably actually want Whiteout to get a bit of a gap on him ahead, so that he's not being adversely affected by that dirty air, because not only does it affect your ability to turn the car in a corner as you lose downforce from it, but that also affects your tire wear. And right now these guys are in pure management mode. They don't have to push too hard on these tires, just focus on saving these tires and keeping the performances balanced for as long as possible into this stint. So I'm assuming Illusion will want to fall off the back of Whiteout just a bit here, so that he's not in that dirty air getting the detrimental effects of it into these corners. It does look like that's exactly what's happening here. We go a little bit further back. King now up into P4. Something must have happened to Alex. Alex is a bit mistake prone at times. Despite having race-winning pace, he is not always the most consistent. I do think that is one of the things that holds him back from championship-level form, is just sometimes mistakes creep in and consistency issues, although some of it coming down to equipment. I know he has some shaky equipment right now, including his TV screen, and being very, very messed up. Anyone who's seen pictures of his TV screen can attest. It is weird, very weird. Like, half of it's red. I don't know how it happened, but he just plays with it anyways. And P5, not a bad position for him right now, especially chasing down the league organizer. King, extremely fast driver himself, as he's setting purple sectors here coming out of the S's as sector 1. Just as a testament to prove that he is a fast driver with a ton of pace. And he's setting purple sectors on the medium tire, mind you. The current fastest lap holder did so on a soft tire with a brand new soft. but we will expect even the medium tire to increase in pace as the race goes on, as these guys burn up more fuel. These fuel levels are very, very high to begin with this race, so as the race goes on, the car will just get lighter and lighter as they burn more fuel off. So we will expect in the following stints, when they get new tires, that we'll see the lap times come down with the lighter cars. Now, taking a look down the grid to see if we have any battles, anyone close enough to monitor here. Otherwise, we can just take an onboard with someone. Oh no. Yeah, speaking of mistakes creeping in, there must have been mistakes from MayJP here, the fan favorite today, as he is not only, I saw him slipping a bit when I went onto his camera, but he is now about to serve a 3-second penalty. 3 seconds to me indicates that he must have crossed a line in the pit lane, either on entry or on exit. Now this, if he did though, that does mean he took a pit stop, which is kind of odd to me because that's an extremely early time to take a pit stop. I do know he was on the soft tire, but even though you're on the soft tire, I mean, we saw how good Whiteout and Illusion's tires are holding up at the moment, despite being on the softs themselves. So that's pretty interesting to see. I wonder if he just decided it's not worth it, the pace versus the distance sort of ratio that he was working with. Something must have happened. He wasn't liking what he was seeing. Went into the pits to make a change there, as we have another penalty. This one, half a second, which means that is for a track limit infringement there. So getting a little bit too generous with the track limits, putting a tire just over the white line, which will give you a half a second penalty. Although when you serve a half a second penalty, it slows you down for the duration of a half a second, which means the net loss on track is much more than half a second, because you have to get back up to speed. And as we can see here, it's going to slow him down on a straight with 2 cars just behind him. He may even lose position here. Now taking a look at Santos, the Brazilian in the Lotus. Is it enough to make up position as he goes around the outside of 130R? Now he's tucking in just to the rear wing. They make contact going into the final chicane on the track. That contact looks like it resulted in Jetfire going off the track. He does go off the track. Kind of a funny camera angle. We saw 2 cars go in, 1 car go out, and Jetfire just disappeared on track there. And now that was a very unfortunate sequence of events there for the Foxhound racer of Jetfire, as he had to serve a penalty, had a car right behind him. That was a little bit of contact. I don't know if the contact is actually what forced him to go off or if he just outbraked himself, because the contact looked very, very minor between him and Santos. So I wouldn't assume that it was the contact that pushed him off, but you never know. As we got another driver here, Julvo going a bit wide, turning that car into a bit of a lawnmower as he is eating up a ton of grass all over the track. He likes dipping his tires into the grass, it looks like. The German trying to make up ground on his German teammate as well to keep it close between the two of them. If they are close indeed, maybe they can work together, play a little bit of slipstream games potentially to try to make up farther ground, as they are pretty far back. And moving up here, BP kind of on a race of his own here. So there were some issues ahead and behind, and it looks like he has just made out well by just being consistent, driving his own race here on that hard tire. If more chaos ensues in front and behind of BP here, the Frenchman will gain a huge advantage just by not being involved in it, and that maybe that will bring the hard tire compound back into play a little bit. Although it does seem like, even though despite being a driver with good pace, if you look at his lap times, they're not particularly impressive at the moment, and that's not on him because he is a good driver. That is on the hard compound, as it is just a slow tire. Now, taking a look up the grid, I see a couple of cars close here. Yeah, King and Alex, of course, still at about the same range. Now, this is where it gets really, really difficult to close in. If you are two cars with similar pace, closing that gap with the dirty air is extremely difficult. And King actually on the overtake to keep Alex at bay. This is where you'd want to use it too if you're in a defensive position, is on these straights, because this is where Alex actually can close that gap in. As soon as we get to the S's, though, there's no chance. Unless you're in a position to make an overtake move happen, you're going to just fall off the back of that following car from the dirty air. As we can see it now, if you could monitor the gaps on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that 0.7 gap. And then as we come into the S's, as we approach this next set of corners, we'll begin the S's. I bet that gap only increases, and there it goes, increasing already 0.2 of a second just out of turn 1 and 2. 3, 4 tenths now. Impossible to follow a car with similar pace levels through that sector of track. And now it's going to be a challenge for Alex through the rest of the circuit to try to make up that gap back to where he was to begin with, just for it to happen all over again if he can't make up that ground before the S's begin again on the following lap, which is most likely to happen. Now, just to give our race leader a bit of attention, as it is lonely at the top when you're racing in front. Oftentimes there's nothing going on with you, so there's no reason to be looking at you. But since there's a bit of a chill moment behind, we can go on board and to see a fast lap from the perspective of our race leader and the fastest driver on the track. Let's see what a fast lap would look like. Now, do keep in mind that these tires are probably losing performance now, as they're about 50% worn. Now, these soft tires, it is very track dependent on if you can take the tire all the way down to nothing, or if the pace and performance of the tire really starts dropping off about halfway, or sometimes even before the halfway mark. And if you start bleeding enough lap time, it could be worth shedding those tires even though they still have life to give. But we will see what they decide to do. My assumption is within the next handful of laps, yeah, let's say in the next 3 to 5 laps, I believe they'll probably take a pit stop. And my guess would be that they would then switch to the medium tire from there to finish the race out, making it a one-stop strategy for the EXO cars. And based on the fact that everyone behind is on the medium tire, I would assume that the majority of the field is going to do a similar strategy, but with opposite stint orders, starting on the medium and finishing on the soft tire later on. But being it that these are the only two drivers now, barring maybe one other on the soft tire, there's going to be a huge undercut, overcut window that they can make up, and that window in between the two pit strategies is going to be where all of the difference is either made or lost for these drivers. As he approaches the final chicane once more on lap 13, turning the final corner, and that was a lap on board with your race leader, Whiteout. Also, the reigning champion of the debut series here at DRL, the F3500 series, with the old school 90s F1 car based on that old 90s Williams car. Whiteout is the champion of that series, also just coming off of a championship in Grand Prestige League and in the final season of Formula GT. An absolute monster, just championships everywhere he touches. And it looks like this might not be an exception, as he is just right out the gate, pole position and dominating in the race. Although Illusion doing a great job, it does look like that pace is being maintained at about 1.5 seconds. And so Illusion is right there, just staying off of his teammates' dirty air wakes into the corners. Outside of that, Illusion looks like he has just about as much pace as Whiteout right now. Although neither of them are probably pushing at 100% to maintain the tire life for as long as possible. It does look like, however, if you compare these two tires, Whiteout with significantly better tire wear than Illusion. So just as I was saying, even though Illusion let this gap build up a little bit to try to not have his tire wear affected by Whiteout's dirty air, it still has an effect. As we can see, that's a good 10-15% difference in wear on that front left tire being the worst tire. That's significant. That will introduce a lot more tire wear, or understeer rather, I should say. And understeer only compounds the amount of wear that your tires are experiencing and the amount of heat and energy and friction being put into them. So not only will he be bleeding lap time from here, but he might also have to pit earlier, which could hurt his undercut, overcut sort of window that he has, minimizing it just a bit more. Now we are at lap 15, just under the halfway point of this race. I would assume that these guys are going to take a pit stop soon now. Even Whiteout, even if he has some life left in that tire, I would assume that pit stop is coming soon, as they're not making up any more gap to the car behind now. Chiller on the medium, also about 50%. That's not much worse than Whiteout's soft tire, so Whiteout doing an amazing job of managing that soft tire. Chiller's tires are going to be the one coming into favor now pace-wise, as Illusion's tires especially are dropping off. So at this stage of the race, he's not going to be increasing this gap anymore like he would crucially be wanting to at this stage. Now I would assume that he's going to start losing a bit of ground to the medium runners behind if they are pacey enough. And Chiller, one of the drivers who actually does have the pace to potentially challenge here. Not many drivers who can challenge these two up front here, but I believe Chiller does have the potential. And if he nails the strategy, it could be a big opportunity for him to make his mark here on the Super Formula League debut here for DRL. Oh, and earlier I called this a Toyota Castrol, but it is a Honda Castrol. As I can see the Honda branding on the car here, the Castrol livery looking very nice. I do like the Castrol designs. Extremely classic, very 90s vibes. I always think of course, that 97 GT500 Supra Castrol livery, but I always think about as well the Toyota Celica rally car with that Castrol livery on it. So very nice livery there for Team Disconnect. I will say Team Disconnect being King's team as well, but it doesn't seem that he's in the Castrol livery. So perhaps King, the owner of the Team Disconnect squad, they're racing himself as a privateer today, as he is in his personal Mercedes livery. Just taking a look up and down the grid to see what kind of situations we have going on here. You know, there are a couple of mix-ups here, as we got May JP here going from 20 seconds behind. So last time I checked on him, he was in last place with a 20-second gap to the next car above, who at the time was Jetfire, having just crashed out and taken a penalty. And it was still a 20-second gap from there. But now he has made up 2 positions off Jetfire and Rico. Rico being the other Castrol car. And I know for a fact that Rico as well, having watched that F3500 series, is another one of these extremely fast drivers who could be challenging at the very, very top of the grid. So I wonder what must have happened to him to find himself way back here in last place, 5 seconds off of the next nearest car, who is Jetfire, who himself is struggling massively at this stage of the race. You can see Jetfire's medium tires are not in the best of shape either, but Jetfire, a fast driver nonetheless, as he is approaching May JP. Does seem like he was just in slipstream range at the end of the straight there, but not enough. And he goes off a bit there too. Slippery on the way back onto the track as well. That's not going to help him. So Jetfire struggling massively here, and that's going to help out May JP. Take a little bit of pressure off of him, as it did look like Jetfire was trying to close that distance back up. May JP finds himself now in P12 with a lot of race left, so if he can just stay consistent here and let the race come to him, there might be more positions to play for. As we have our first pit stop of the race, and it is Illusion coming off of that extremely destroyed soft tire. Alex up into P2 now, net P2, well not net P2, but is in gross P2, let's say, with Alex and King both staying out. Icon also into the pits. Now you see he's coming into the pits to shed a medium tire, so Illusion coming out into P4 with not a lot of traffic ahead. So this is really, really good for Illusion, managing to come out just ahead of Chiller. That's exactly what he would want to see. That would have been devastating had he come out behind. Now, I will say Icon here, he switched from the medium tire to another medium tire. So very good on Illusion, despite not having as good wear on his soft tire as Whiteout. Very good on him nonetheless to be able to make those soft tires last as long as one of our medium runners did make his mediums last. And just checking in here on BP, as we could see, like I mentioned earlier, just in his own race, doing his own thing, as long as he can just maintain a decent pace, that hard tire might actually come back into play at some point in this race, because there's been a lot of up and down struggling throughout the grid and a little bit of chaos. We'll see if this helps him out. Hard tires, not usually a viable race tire in this particular simulator. Whiteout, our race leader, now into the pits himself, and we're going to see if this shakes up the order a whole lot. We got Alex on the main straight coming through to take the lead of the race, and King just behind. And now we got Whiteout coming out of the pits, staying away from the exit line, not to incur a penalty like our boy May JP did earlier on in this race. Whiteout now in P3, but he is 4 seconds off the race lead, which means he is still net P1, because Alex and King still do have to take a pit stop. Alex especially, if we look at those tires compared to King's, about 10-15% worse than King's, and they were both on the medium tire. And when you're on the medium tire and it starts to struggle, the grip is not there for you, and it gets very risky to continue to push and push this many laps on when you're under pressure from a car behind, and it's just not giving you the confidence and predictability in your car placement that you would look for, especially in those S's. If you don't have the exact amount of confidence to place the car exactly where you want through those S's, you're going to lose so much time. A really good exit out of Spoon there for Alex, though. Despite those cooked tires, we got Whiteout already all over the back of King, looking to make backup positions. Alex going to take advantage of King being put under pressure by our net race leader here and try to eke out as big of a gap as possible before pitting himself. We'll see if he goes in, and he does not go into the pits. So Alex choosing to keep the lead of this race for at least one lap longer. I think that's a good idea at this stage, just because of King having to go defensive mode now. That takes pressure off of Alex. Now he can just push ahead, try to build the gap as big as he can. King now, if King wants to do something miraculous here, he might just try to hold up Whiteout as long as he possibly can. Oh, you know what? Whiteout on the soft tire. So Whiteout going 2 sets of softs, and based on how long he made that first set last, he can definitely do a whole race distance here from soft to soft. But now it is imperative that King hold up Whiteout and keep him behind for as long as possible, because we know for a fact that the brand new softs of the fastest driver is going to be faster than a worn medium. And so He's costing Whiteout a ton of time right now. He's probably going to get past right here into Spoon as we approach. Whiteout on the inside of the first part of Spoon. He gets by really quickly there. And now we can see just how much more pace Whiteout has in hand. As soon as he gets the free air, you can see the big gap opening up already. And now we can see how quickly Whiteout makes up ground to Alex's worn medium. I'm assuming it won't take much time at all, especially if Alex stays out right now, which I would go in if I were him, but he stays out. Yeah, I would have stayed out while he was behind King because he was losing time to King. But now that he's in front of King, I would have went into the pits because now Alex is just losing time to Whiteout now. So if he would have taken his pit stop right now, he would have came out of the pits with the most or the least amount of time lost relative to Whiteout possible. But that ratio is no longer in his favor as every single second he stays out on track before pitting, he is now losing time to our race leader. That gap is already now under a second, and it's not even been a whole lap yet. It has been maybe a quarter of a lap. Oh my God, look at the gap just bleeding down. It was a whole second just 2 corners ago. Now we're half a second down, 2/10 down now. He is on the bumper now of Alex, as this is for not only the net lead, as Alex still has to pit, so Whiteout's already our net leader, but this is just for on-track lead. He wants to take it on track. And knowing Alex, how competitive he is, especially with the likes of Whiteout, he might not even be thinking of what the best strategy is now. He might just be going to make it a hard day for Whiteout if he can. Oh, on the inside of 130R, they make a little bit of contact. It looked like Alex almost getting pushed wide, but managed to stay just inside of track limits on the inside curb there. What an excellent move, as now we have Illusion right all over the back of King as well to make up positions here. This is also one of those things, too, where Illusion is losing time behind these cars now. If he can get past clean here into turn 1, and he does, absolutely launches it into turn 1. Now that's something you can only do with fresh, confident tires. Also taking another set of softs is Illusion. Now I can say I don't believe this was the plan for them starting this race. I believe their plan was a soft to medium one stop, but maybe just based on how well they were able to make those softs last from 1 and 2, probably believed, actually, you know what, we can take another set of soft tire and make the whole distance pretty easily, especially if you can make it last that long on your first stint. Making your tires last on your second stint is going to be even easier because the car is lighter. It puts less friction into those tires when it's under lateral load, and thus less tire wear. Now we have Illusion here closing that gap ever quickly on to Alex. Now we're just under half a second now, and on the overtake as well as we approach 130R in the slipstream of Alex, the German in the Lotus machine. We have the EXO Mitsubishi of Illusion. Now he is all the way closed up as they go into the chicane, going around the outside of the first part of the chicane, choosing to try a switchback, which turns it into the outside of both. Manages to stay behind. Oh, as he goes ahead in. Cheeky moves there from Alex, just costing Illusion a ton of time there. And he didn't really even help himself, to be honest, but he did. That was very detrimental to Illusion's pace over the course of that whole lap, getting dirty air the whole time, finally catching up. And just as he was going to get a big slipstream down the main straight, which finally would have helped him claw back some of that lost pace from that lap, Alex chooses to go into the pits finally and deny Illusion the slipstream into turn 1. But now, as we can see, the difference that made before the pit stops and all the shenanigans happened, the gap between P1 and P2 was about 1 to 1.5 seconds. Now it's up to 2.5 seconds. So that is the time cost to Illusion. looking a bit farther back. Alex, with a 3-second penalty. He definitely crossed the line, either when he went in or when he exited the pit lane. He crossed the line. And a bit of a wiggle there, too. Despite being on brand new soft tires, when you come out of the pits, they're very cold, and it takes about a lap or two to get those tires warmed up enough to where they can provide the grip that you're expecting them to. Not only that, but we see the clouds coming on to the track now. The track is much darker at this point in time. It does look like the humidity might be up as well. And between those two things, the surface temperature on the track might be dropping a little bit. So between brand new cold tires and a colder track, you're going to be struggling for grip in those first couple of laps. King into the pits now. And now we will see what tire he chooses to go on to, shedding those worn medium tires on his Mercedes. As he comes out of the pits on the soft tire, so it is a medium to soft for King as he just loses another position as he comes out of the pit lane to Alex. And the gap is not huge, though, so we will have a battle on our hands. We've got another car just behind, too. On very new mediums, it is Icon of Distinct. And not too far behind them either in P7 is our lone hard-running car. Very interesting. Now just taking a look back, we got May JP up into P10 now. Now, if I was May JP from this position in the race, I mean, he does have a bit over 50% of his tires left. I would think the best thing he could do from here is to just stay out and ideally not have to pit again. Because if you do, based on these gaps here, you would probably come out P13 for like somewhere around 12, 13. So, yeah, my recommendation would be to struggle it through the rest of the race distance if you can. May JP making up good distance, good ground here as he's up into P10. Oh, of course, I had to say something. That is the commentator curse. You can put that one on me. My fault there. I just had to, I had to say something as he goes off into the gravel. And that is one of the easier places to find yourself in the gravel. So easy to misjudge, as it's one of the corners where you try to maintain as much momentum into the corner as possible, and you're kind of turning as you're braking, and you release the brake as early as you can, and it's so easy to be tempted to release your brake just slightly too early and then understeer your way right off the track. And it seems that's exactly what he did, trying to maybe over push to keep the gap to the car behind, who was starting to look like pulls up and maybe put him under a bit of pressure. Now, these two drivers both were in the chat today, so, that's not good at all. So I don't know why he's pitting so early. These tires still have a lot of life to give. But even worse so, it looked like he crossed the pit lane entry line as he entered. So if so, that's going to be another 3-second pit lane infraction penalty that he will have to serve on track. Let's see if he does, and he does indeed, from crossing that pit lane line. Getting really close to the exit line, too, there. Had to be careful. Yeah, so just as I thought, now coming out of the pits in P13, just ahead of Jetfire. The only car on track, perhaps, today who is struggling more than he is. Now, I did see some promising glimpses from May JP, so we are going to look forward to watching him throughout the rest of the season. Hopefully he has better luck in the following rounds, as I'm sure he will. Another half-a-second track limit penalty here from Alex, too. It always seems that when May JP gets a 3-second penalty somewhere else, there is a half-a-second penalty being served out, too. Once again for Alex, as he is just getting a little too ambitious with the track limit there. We have Icon in the pits. This is unexpected. Look at this. His tires are perfect. So I'm really not understanding the thinking behind the pit strategy for some of these drivers today, specifically May JP and Icon here, hitting with really good tires left. Oh, I see. He wants the soft tire. He went from a really healthy medium tire to the soft tire. I still don't agree with the call necessarily, but at least I can see why he did so. My guess is that now, with the final stint of the race now upon us, coming into the closing stages of this race where the car is at its lightest, most agile and nimble, putting on a brand new fresh set of soft tires with a lot of overtake left, he could pump in a quality level time here for an attempt at the fastest lap of the race, which is worth an extra point in the championship. So he will want to claim that additional point, is my assumption as to his thinking behind taking that additional pit stop so late in the race. Because based on the tire wear that I've seen up and down the grid so far, this was a slam dunk one-stop race. How you choose to execute that one-stop, there's quite a variation and differences you can do, but nonetheless, definitely a one-stop race. But we're seeing a couple of 2-3 stops, it looks like. It's very interesting. Oh, and AJP losing a position to Jetfire now, as this might be our closest on-track battle. Let me just go up and down the grid real quick. We still got Alex and King somewhat close, but their pace is very similar as well. So we'll keep an eye on them, but I also want to see kind of the progress between these two right here, MayJP and Jetfire. Jetfire on the overtake, MayJP having used all of his overtake already, so he's not going to have that at his disposal for a bit of an advantage. Jetfire, despite being very, very low, will have the advantage with that overtake here in the closing stages, just under a quarter of his overtake remaining. Now, as they do get onto the final straight, this would help MayJP out a lot to be in that slipstream to close the gap here, but Jetfire with the overtake can just keep him outside of range to make a real move happen. Oh, and he absolutely launches his car up to the back of Jetfire. Good car control not to absolutely destroy the rear wing of Jetfire there. That was a close one. Extremely fast closing speed there as they are bumper to bumper here. What a move on the inside through the S's. Jetfire goes off a bit. I don't know if that was forced off from contact or what, but that was it looked like a really good move from our end. We'll see if he can make it stick. This is where he went off last time, and it was an excellent exit line this time around, as he's already made up a pretty big gap onto Jetfire. Of course, Jetfire going off, so it doesn't help, but what a move that was. Making a move into the S's is absolutely risky stuff. So, you know, despite being so far down the grid and having, you know, not the best of luck this race, at least he put on the absolute move of the race. So, as he goes off, he's into the, okay, so this will bring Jetfire back into this again. So good for us as spectators. They're not having great races, either of these two drivers, but at least they're going to come back together once more to provide us a little bit more entertainment. MayJP just needs to tighten up his exits here. I think he's getting a little too like over anticipating the exits, getting on the gas too early or something like that, as we see him just kind of driving off onto the outside of the track on his own a few times now, perhaps over pushing. But this is a great opportunity for the British driver to close the gap once again on the American and show us what he is capable of. As they're back into the S's, where just a lap ago he made that incredible move. He is not quite in position this time to make such a move, but maybe he can close the gap throughout this lap to be in a position this time next go around. Now, I will take a look just up and down the grid real quick to see what the situation is with other drivers on the grid, specifically these two, Alex and King. But just like we thought, the gap is about where it was before we checked. BP also still just P6 on his own, doing his own thing. Icon down P7, but with the soft tire, and he does not have the fastest lap of this race. His tires are just about in perfect condition, and he is on the overtake. So this is probably his fastest lap attempt right now. So we'll see. Make sure these guys aren't too close that we're missing anything. We are not missing anything at the moment. So since that is the case, I will go on board with our fast lap attempt right here, because I believe this is the lap. He was on the overtake right from the beginning. This is his quali lap attempt. He's on a personal best, but it's not a purple lap. So far, King No Skill on a medium tire still holds the fastest lap of this race with a 1:35.4. And that was pretty early on in the race too, with high fuel loads. So what an absolutely excellent lap it must have been. And we are monitoring this closely as he goes around the hairpin, coming out very nicely. Good traction out of the exit. Still on that overtake, and he's burning all of it this lap. This really is the quali lap attempt for Icon. We'll see if he can actually make it work here. Now, just at the end of the straight, we're going to get progress on what his pace is looking like for the fastest lap. He did get a little too wide on the exit of Spoon there. It is a personal best still, but still not purple. He's going to have an absolute lightning chicane here in order to make it a purple lap. I don't know exactly what he's on pace for, but it's not on pace for a purple as it currently stands. Let's see as he crosses the line. Oh, and it is a purple. So he did indeed claw back all of the remaining time he needed with the traction from that soft tire in the exit of the chicane. It is now a 35.2. He took fastest lap by 0.2 of a second. All of that 0.2 made up there in the final sector, which is basically just made up of what's happening here. Okay, never mind. Okay, I was just thinking, all right, let's check back in on May JP. And now he's fighting for a podium position, but no, it's he must have been just lapped by Illusion in P2 there. And now he's got a heap of slipstream from P2. This is going to help him out a lot to get back into the fight with Jetfire. I'm assuming that as the blue flags came through, that probably hurt them a lot in their ability to fight each other, May JP and Jetfire. Blue flags can oftentimes interrupt a good battle happening towards the back of the grid, but that just is what it is. It's better to not mess up the progress of a lead racer here. Now, that start-finish straight would have helped May JP with the slipstream, maybe close the gap back up to Jetfire a little bit, but now we are in dirty air range, so until Illusion can just show that pace and get all the way away from May JP, he will be experiencing a bit of downforce loss now through these heavy cornering sectors. Checking in on our race leader, it is now a just over a 3-second gap between 1 and 2, and it's a 16-second gap between 2 and 3. So EXO absolutely dominating once again here in the DRL Super Formula League debut. And what a race it's been so far. We've seen a little bit of everything. Some good strategic gap racing, an amazing overtake into the S's. Really good quali session, and of course a bunch of cars racing all on their own as well. Alex here on the soft tire with a completely destroyed front left. I wonder if he's going to drag that tire all the way to the finish line, but boy, I would not want to be Alex's car right now. I do think with a 17-second gap to the Frenchman on the hard tire behind in BP that he probably has enough of a margin to actually limp that car across the line to finish this race. He might actually have just enough of a gap to take a pit stop, but I would not risk it. He's too close to losing a position. Although with an additional 16-second gap behind BP, he would only potentially lose one lap, but BP would, I think BP is actually doing a zero stop here, which a zero stop is the only strategy I could possibly see being viable for a hard tire. But even with a zero stop, I think that tire is just too slow, and that you could probably make up a pit stop's worth of time even using a medium tire if you have pace. So, but with P6, especially with this grid, if you look at every single car that's above BP, absolutely excellent drivers with top-level pace, so maybe the zero stop on the hard tire actually wasn't such a bad strategy after all, as that's a good result regardless. It's a P6. Yeah, as we got really big gaps all the way up and down the grid now. What is happening? Every time I see Jetfire and MayJP, they're in different positions relative to each other, but although we have MayJP making up ground on a different driver now at Pan Am, the German super team owner, the owner of like 5 teams across the 2 divisions here in DRL, making sure the grid is nice and full for everyone, making sure everyone has a brand and a livery they can race with. And that is very much appreciated from the league organizers. I know that for sure. So very good on you, Pan Am. And Pan Am, another driver with good pace, as we've seen in the F3500 league. He did race there and did a very respectful job. MayJP had closed that gap all the way up, but now it's opening back up to about a second. This is the area where it would be hard to close in, but now we're approaching the area where it's easier to close in, but he's just too far away to really have any sort of benefit of a slipstream or anything like that. So it's going to take another lap or 2 if we're going to want a chance for him to make another move. As Julvo, the German driver here, teammate of Pan Am now, seeing blue flags being shown to him. I'm not sure where from, maybe Illusion. I would assume a lot of the... Oh, okay. So Alex doing exactly what I advised against him doing, and he decided not to just limp across the line with a massive gap. He decided to take a risk. And that risk did not pay off, as not only did he did come out ahead with the brand new soft tire, but he crossed the pit line. Usually this is something that you don't see very often, is a pit lane penalty. But we've seen pit lane penalties probably like 4 or 5, like so many times today. A very rookie mistake being done by very many experienced drivers, causing the undoing of a lot of races here today. BP now up into P5 on the zero stop hard tire strategy. Absolutely insane, being the only person to even attempt it, let alone make it work out. So Alex, I believe, had the pace for at least a P4 today, really fumbling the bag with that strategy. But it's all right. He will have many more chances. Okay, maybe we will see a battle here at the end, though. Of course, Alex is going to have a massive car advantage here in the final couple of laps. Now, this is all on BP to just hold that car behind, because it's going to take a super defensive effort here from BP, as his car will not have the pace that Alex's brand new soft tire has. Being hit, BP's on worn hards. And those hards didn't have any performance to begin with, but at that stage of where they're going to lose performance, even from where they were. Oh, very good defensive driving. I mean, a little bit, that was borderline dirty, but it was good. I would call it good defensive driving. And being a little bit dirty on a driver like Alex, no one's going to feel too bad. So, as he is saved just enough overtake to use in defense here, but Alex with the inside line, and it was just perfectly positioned. I do think that if BP would have been able to stay ahead into turn 1, that he could have had a chance to stay ahead for the whole lap, but because he got ahead just there into turn 1, he's not going to have a chance at all of fighting back. Whoa, we got other cars close together too now. Let's take a look what's going on here. Okay, one of which is lap traffic. We're not going to pay too close attention to that. MayJP quite a while off of Julvo now. And we got Whiteout, who has crossed the line to win the debut of DRL's Super Formula Series here at Suzuka. And Exo Illusion crosses the line to make it an Exo 1-2 on debut. Let's go. P3 in the Castrol. Chiller. P3 the whole race with an excellent... Oh, he's on the hard tire. I don't know. Very, very interesting, the hard tire, especially as he started the race on the medium. He should know after a whole stint on the medium that you could clearly make it last for the second stint. I have no idea why he would have opted for the hard tire. Very, very interesting tire strategies being used up and down the grid here. Oh, and the fastest lap of the race on the final lap from Alex to take the fastest lap away by only 1/10 from Icon, who made a very deliberate push for the fastest lap there at the on the last lap. So that's not going to be Icon's not going to be happy about that. And we got Illusion in the chat as well. Congratulations on an Exo 1-2. Very good strategy. Just barely made it work with those tires. It looked like those tires were struggling for life. So congratulations to Whiteout for the win. Congratulations to Illusion for P2. And of course, congratulations to Chiller with the interesting strategy for P3 to round out your podium in that Castrol car. And it's a very strong podium here at Suzuka. Of course, I must mention as well that Whiplash was running very high in the race when he disconnected early on. I believe it was a disconnect. And that will be very unfortunate for him. But just as I pointed out at the time, it is 2 drop rounds for this season. So if he attends well for the remainder of the season, this will not adversely affect his championship chances. Yes, and the driver's pointing out how bad the dirty air was. It really, really, really was. Terrible dirty air. We have people congratulating everyone, and Exo, of course, and thank you very much as well. Big congrats to Exo. Starting the season just where they left off in P1 and P2. All right, everyone. So I do want to let you guys know, too, that we will be back in 2 weeks' time for Suzuka for the second class, and then we will be racing throughout the rest of the season, but it's probably not going to be on this channel. We do have an official league YouTube channel that we had set up, but YouTube wanted to be weird with us and not let us stream unless it was verified within a certain amount of time or whatever. So it wouldn't let me stream from the official YouTube channel. So I'm assuming that by the time in 2 weeks from now we're racing at Suzuka again for the next class, we will be streaming on the official DRL YouTube channel. If you're in the server, the link will be in the announcements on the Discord server. If you're on the league Instagram, we will definitely be sure to link it in the Instagram as well. So be sure you like and subscribe. You can like and subscribe to my channel here too if you would like. Feel free to, but definitely like and subscribe on the official Drakon Racing League YouTube channel and give it a follow at Drakon Racing League on Instagram as well. So thank you guys very much for participating. It was actually an excellent first stream for this league, and it'll only get better from here as well. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys next time.